this, of course, is not only an American issue. How concerned are you about the stability of the global financial banking sector specifically right now?
Well, I was the UK's banking minister for 4.5 years until last summer. And obviously, I'm very aware we have a very different banking system, but we in the UK are certainly not complacent. We have a very strong regulator in the Prudential Regulatory Authority, which obviously helped us deal with the SVB situation a few weeks ago. But the reality is there are very significant differences. Obviously, the banks are having to adjust to a new environment in terms of interest rates, and that's created some challenges for them. But whilst we're not taking anything for granted, we're pretty confident that we're in a, we need to be vigilant, but we've got a stable situation in the UK.
But the polls show that Brits are actually quite concerned. More than half are really worried about the global financial system, more than a quarter as well about the UK's own banks. What are you doing to try to shore that up? Are you concerned that you're going to see deposits leave some of these smaller UK banks?
No, I'm not. As I said, the structure is very different. We've got a small number of very large banks, and their capital requirements are very rigorously enforced by our regulators, who obviously had a step change after the financial crisis 15 years ago. So I don't want to be complacent, but I do think that means that we're in good shape. But obviously, we've got to keep aware of all the challenges in different banks and the different profile of concentration of customers, the different liquidity challenges and issues that they all face in different ways.
Interesting. The chair of the Financial Services Committee in the House, who will be leading tomorrow's hearing, called this the first Twitter bank run. How does your system handle the speed with which decisions are being made to withdraw or move money, not to mention the speed with which word can travel over social media to create something of an hysteria?
Well, you absolutely put your finger on the right issue, which is the way that behaviours can move very quickly. And it is particularly true, and we saw that with SVB, when a very, very high concentration of the tech sector used SVB across the globe. That created some distinct challenges. But what we've got to say is that we do have capital requirements. We do have deep oversight of these banks through our regulators in the PRA and FCA. So whilst I wouldn't want to take anything for granted, I think that we can understand different banks and the different challenges they may face through that degree of scrutiny, which has been so reinforced over the last decade since the crisis in 2008.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has, of course, unlocked this wider Brexit agreement.
Yes.
What's happening with the MOU when it comes to the financial sector?
Well, we've been ready to sign that MOU for the last 2 years. I was ready to sign it. I never got to sign it when I was the Financial Services Minister in the UK. I hope that will be possible soon. We want to have a positive trading relationship.
Soon.
I can't say when that will be. It's not my responsibility directly now.
This year?
Look, I hope it'll be as soon as we reasonably can. It will be down to the EU to decide when they're ready to do that. But I think what the Prime Minister has achieved with the Windsor framework is generally acknowledged to reset the opportunities for a closer relationship with the EU as a close trading partner. But obviously, I also value our relationship with the US too, and we can look to both directions in a positive way.
We spoke earlier, before you joined us, with Heather Boushey from the White House Council of Economic Advisors as they beat the drum on accomplishments that have been made over the past couple of years, knowing that it's going to be a lot more difficult in a divided Congress. And one of those achievements is the Inflation Reduction Act, which I know has not always made friends across the ocean. And I just wonder what the UK government's answer is to the IRA.
Well, that's clearly something that we've got to work on. We in the UK have been in a different place with respect to climate change and the move towards renewables. We had a budget a couple of weeks ago where we reaffirmed our commitment to clean energy. There'll be more on that on Thursday of this week. The Prime Minister will be making further announcements. We've also been very clear that we need to continue to invest in renewable energy. We've also made a 20 billion commitment on carbon capture and storage. We're very clear about how we see nuclear as part of the mix. But we're very aware of what's happened in the US, and we'll need to continue to have that deep dialogue that we value so much with our friends in the US over how the implications will work through for the UK and our supply chains.
You're in a bit of a USA tour. New York,
I am.
D.C., you're going
Yes.
to San Francisco.
Yes.
And San Francisco is all about this idea of unicorn kingdom.
Yes.
You want U.S. capital to go to the United Kingdom. But why would U.S. companies invest, say, in London and not Texas?
Well, I hope they can do both. But what I'm saying is that the UK has enormous potential. We have a thriving tech sector, which is the biggest outside of the US and China. And we recognise that there are great opportunities to invest in life sciences, in all the different tech agendas that are so important to the new economy. We've made big calls in terms of our investment in AI and in quantum. And yes, I am promoting UK for investment from US investors, and we value the conversations that we have both on the East Coast and the West Coast. And it's my job to promote the UK, as you would appreciate.
Has it expanded beyond Silicon Roundabout in London?
Well, that's very good that you know about that. But yes, it is. And the Chancellor, my boss, has been, with the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is determined that we continue to grow that sector in the UK.